On today's episode of the Ryen Russillo podcast, I'll do a little baseball for you. An all-time night from Cam Schlittler. Yep. You've heard all the puns by now, but he was, there you go. You can do it again. You can do it all day if you want to. Just a historic performance. Like, he actually was doing stuff we have not, you could say, technically ever seen, with the combination of velocity, the final box score, and shutting down this Red Sox lineup that may or may not have four guys that are probably utility players in this lineup. My disappointment level was a good run. It's a good run. I picked up this Red Sox run late September, and, it's early October, so I'm okay. I'm not damaged, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. But more importantly, we're going to talk football with Kevin Clark. We're going to go through a bunch of the big games. We're also going to talk bigger picture on the OC mind as the head coach. It gets aggressive at some point, and then, of course, his thoughts on Miami's big turnaround this season, which we thought we did last year, but it does feel a little bit different this time. We've got an alliance pick, and Kyle is here for life advice. Enjoy. This is the Ryen Russillo podcast presented by FanDuel, and if you're betting on the NFL, FanDuel is the place to do it. They've got everything. Same game parlays, quick bets for when you want to jump in live and your way so you can set your own lines. The app's fast. It's easy to use. And best of all, when you win, you get paid out instantly. Download the FanDuel app or go to FanDuel.com/Ryen, R-Y-E-N, to get started. The Ringer is committed to responsible gaming. Please visit rg-help.com to learn more about the resources and helplines available and listen to the end of the episode for additional details. Must be 21 plus and present in select states, 18 plus in D.C., Kentucky, and Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Cam Schlittler. That is the story last night, and it's the kind of story for baseball fans that are going to get you excited probably about the next 10 years. There's nothing that would get me more excited back in the day about the hope of having like a top of the rotation prospect step up and be like my favorite thing ever for the next 10 years. And I'm not saying that's going to happen. I have no idea. The numbers are incredible from Schlittler last night. Historic. He hit 98 plus miles an hour on 64 of his 107 pitches. Okay. He went 8 scoreless, 5 singles, no walks, 12 strikeouts. You can actually look at that box score and say he's like the first guy to do this ever. There's also one, like the first rookie to throw this many strikeouts in an elimination game since Livan Hernandez, which Jeff Passan posted that last night and showed us the YouTube video of the umpire getting excited about being part of history on top of everything else. That I've watched that a few different times, Livan in that strike zone that he was getting, and you're just like, man, this is fun. So that's the kind of thing that you didn't just win the series, Yankees fans. You're going, wait a minute. Do we have a dude now? Do we have a dude now that we can put in between our two lefties as you go up against Toronto? Because every single thing from that box score, and it's just the best. It's the best when you're a baseball fan and you're like, do we have a homegrown guy who's going to be a stud, who, by the way, is also from Walpole, to make it even worse for the Red Sox. How am I doing? Thanks for asking. I'm okay. Really good. Doing really good. And I'm serious. These used to be the kind of things that'd be devastating. I may have even taken the night off or the day off, or maybe because I took the night off, I then would need the day off. But this was okay. I was okay with it. I was late to the game with the 25 Red Sox. I was still sort of pissed about a lot of different things. And when you're younger, you get pissed about even more things. You know, when you're younger and you identify with a baseball team, I think it has a lot to do with like who we are as young men. We don't have a family yet. Maybe we don't have a career that we love. Maybe none of you even volunteer, you know? So you go, hey, I need something. I can't be like, now I think guys will wear like beanies, right? But back in my day, the move was you just get really into baseball, you know, or maybe you love Tool and you argue about time signatures. I don't, you know, like, no, dude, that's 7-8. So that's what I used to be like pre-2004. These kinds of losses make me miserable. I'm okay with it now. 2004 helps. Also being older. Also feeling there's other stuff going on. And it's also my job every single day. And I don't know how it happened for me. I wish it hadn't, although it feels a little bit healthier on a day like today. But this Red Sox team, you can't play that way and get it going against this Yankees team like that. Whatever the bullpen advantage that Boston had didn't really come into play with this whatsoever. Sure, in game one, even though that almost got ugly. But if you look at game two, like that's the game. Just a million mistakes. You've got Duran in left field. You got the Rafaela bunt. You've got Whitlock, who's been one of the best relievers in baseball, not coming through. Eaton not scoring from third. The Jazz Chisholm dive, saving a run. So there was just so many mistakes in game two, and their defense wasn't very good. And look, they're just not that great of a team. If you look at that lineup, you're going, there's like 4 guys in here that probably shouldn't be in a division contending team's lineup to start the 26th season. So look, congrats to the Yanks and congrats to Jimmy Fallon. I'm making this public right now. If invited on the Fallon show as a guest, I'm not going on. It's not because I didn't realize that Fever Pitch wasn't a documentary. It's just that dude, I'm telling you, when the Sox won and they were filming all that stuff, that guy was on the field, non-footage moments, just running around like it had finally happened. It's like, dude, stick to the script. Stick to the script. I don't know if it was B-roll. If it was B-roll, maybe I'll retract my rejecting the invitation to the show. But, that stung. That stung for a lot of... Luckily, I'm old enough to deal with it now, but there's a lot of kids out there that grew up on Fever Pitch that don't even fucking know what to do now. Let's talk some football. Kevin Clark joins us now from ESPN, old friend from his time at The Ringer. Also, This is Football, out multiple episodes per week. What's good, man? Good to see you.
I'm excited. Good college weekend, Florida State, Miami, and then decent NFL weekend, and then baseball playoffs, which are happening.
That's right. All accurate statements. I'm going to get to Miami, Florida State with you because I know how excited you are about your Canes, because I think you should be excited about your Canes.
I agree.
Let's start, because I didn't do a lot on it last night's game.
Yeah.
So you've got Mac Jones out there with no receiving production from the 24 season. I think the throw on the touchdown to start the game, to the Tungus touchdown, I guess that'd probably be the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Just him kind of giving up on the route and being like, I got to get this out because it's there now, showed me something. The roughing the passer throw showed me something. And then just him moving around and just finding different ways to get him involved while he's dealing with his PCL injury. Yeah. So we know we've kind of seen this Shanahan story before, but what does this say about Mac Jones and San Francisco in general to you? Not only the team part of this record with these injuries, but just who he is now versus kind of what I thought of him post in New England and Jacksonville, where I thought he was terrible.
This is what we were begging for, was to see Mac Jones in this offense. And I've always joked, like, it's not, quarterbacking is not like F1, where you get to see the driver in the same car as the other driver. Like, you don't get to compare and say there's 2 McLarens. They have basically the same car. Let's see how it goes, right? Quarterbacking is different. So we never got to see the Brock Purdy versus Mac Jones just like running the same car, see who's better, right? See who's better in the corners. And now we're kind of getting to see it. And it's a Kyle Shanahan testament. The fact that last night Mac Jones had the second most yardage on short passes out of any quarterback this year. He was basically throwing a lot of his work within 10 yards. I think that's by design, but it's also he's getting the ball out quickly, and he doesn't have, Ricky Pearsall's out. Like, he doesn't have some of the weapons that you're supposed to have if you're the Niners quarterback. And so I was so impressed with everybody last night. That was an amazing Kyle Shanahan win, because I've been down on Shanahan in the maybe 3 or 4 years ago, because it felt like when Jimmy Garoppolo would get hurt, everybody would just give up on the season. And for that win last night, when everybody is unbelievably hurt, and you've got Bosa out, and you've got a lack of depth everywhere, to grind that out and to make Mac Jones into what he was last night. I'm so impressed with that. Was an organizational win to me. And now we get to do the discourse of what should have happened in the draft with Mac Jones, and should they've taken him 3rd overall or whatever. Like, I don't even know if that matters. Like, it's Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan can create a top 10 quarterback, which to me means you should take Kyle Shanahan ahead of almost anybody except maybe 5 or 6 quarterbacks in this league.
Oh, wow. This is very Brad Stevens-ish.
Yeah. Yes. Like, there was a stat, Russillo, a couple years ago, where if you just did the top seasons by yards per attempt, it was like 5 of them in history, like 5 of them were Shanahan quarterbacks. Like, he creates yards per attempt monsters, which is an efficiency stat. He creates efficient quarterbacks. So there's not a lot of guys where if you're drafting personnel, I'd say I want that guy over Kyle Shanahan.
So it's funny because I was going to actually not do this now because I was thinking about it as an opening on a slower day, but let's just do it because I'd rather do it with you. Because one of the things about like the most important person for your organization, one of the things that I used to think was really silly is like, okay, so Theo Epstein's going to make 1.5 million, but Craig Graybeck's going to make 5 million. Like a utility infielder is going to make, but a lot of it has to do with kind of the standard of what that job pays you.
Right.
This is something I talk about all the time. Like if I think about how many people listen to Pardon My Take, and I don't know how much those guys make, but I probably could guess. And then how much like late night TV hosts make. And yet, if you looked at Pardon My Take's audience versus the audience for these late night hosts, but we grew up with the idea that that was the marquee job in television, that those people always, it's an 8-figure deal. It's 20 plus million. It's just kind of what it is. You have your person who's like the anchor of your late night TV. It's still kind of this, people can say whatever they want about network, but it's still on in a lot of homes. But the actual viewership is so down dramatically from what we grew up with, but yet the standard, if I ever told like a buddy, like, hey, I think the guys from Part of My Take should make more money than fill in the blank talk show host, because I know that's its own topic on top of everything else. What you're saying about Shanahan is exactly what I was thinking last night. It's like, if this guy is this good, we can get into fucking timeouts and should have done this, should have done that. Like, I just think that's so small on the pie chart of what's important when it seems like Shanahan could just do this all the time. Like, this is the person that should be making $30 million a year for your organization.
I totally agree. And to piggyback off the late night point, there was someone recently, Brian Curtis put out a thing where I guess DiCaprio told this great story on New Heights the other day about how his first agent wanted him to change his name to Lenny Williams because DiCaprio was too ethnic, which is just
same thing happened to me.
Unbelievable. And so Brian was like, this sounds like a great late night anecdote because it was his opener on Letterman 35 years ago, whenever DiCaprio made his debut on David Letterman, probably around Titanic. And someone in the replies, and it stood out to me, was like, well, this is the new late night. And I thought about it, and it's like, it is. Like, you got to have your anecdotes prepped for New Heights or Pardon My Take or Russillo. Like, it really is. This is where you go with your good anecdotes now. You don't, if you go to like some of the late night stuff, you're doing bits or whatever, but it's really kind of hard to break through. Like, someone just clips you, and all of a sudden you have more reach than, like, someone puts it on TikTok, and all of a sudden you have more reach than you would if you appeared on a network show for 5 hours overnight. Like, it's a fascinating thing to get into, but we're not going to do that. We're going to do Kyle Shanahan. I agree. I mean, like, that's the inefficiency in, there's no cap for coaches, right? There's no salary cap for coaches. I've been surprised, and I've heard people say this in the past. I've been surprised. Maybe Detroit was doing a little bit with Ben Johnson. Maybe, not maybe, Tampa Bay was trying to do it with Liam Cohen. If we pay our offensive coordinator, who is propping up this quarterback, what is almost head coaching money to keep him around, is that worth it? And I kind of think the answer is yes, but you kind of have to find a guy who doesn't want everything that comes along with being a head coach in order for that to be a successful model. But Ben Johnson does want to be head coach. Liam Cohen does want to be a head coach. He used to want to do it for Trent Baalke, and then circumstances changed, and he does that secret interview in Jacksonville. And so the play caller, I think play calling and a lot of that stuff can be overrated. But if you have a proven track record of making quarterbacks better, and remember the difference between a mediocre, let's Daniel Jones making $14 million this year, and the top quarterbacks are making $55 million. Okay. If you can take Daniel Jones, if you're Shane Steichen, just proof of concept, if you can take a $14 million quarterback and make him a $55 million quarterback, shouldn't you get some of that? Shouldn't that be baked into your cost? I don't know the answer. And obviously the union part of it, as far as this is negotiated and salaries, there's a salary floor and all that stuff. So that's different. How this is all slotted, the franchise tag, which they're negotiating off of, coaches don't have that. I'm just wondering if in 10 years, we're going to look at coaching salaries dramatically differently because of one owner saying, screw it, And David Tepper kind of tried to do this with Matt Rule, and unfortunately it was Matt Rule. But at some point, an owner is going to be like, if this guy can create that kind of value, and remember, these are all hedge fund guys now who are buying in these teams. If they can create what amounts to shareholder value, if they can increase the value of our investments, then yeah, they deserve quarterback money.
I'm totally with you on this. The play calling part of it would be tough to just say, hey, like Chip Kelly had to go through head coaching for him probably be totally fine with making as much as he is now as the play caller for Vegas, right?
Right.
If you're in coaching, you likely are an incredibly competitive person. You probably for years have thought about it on the ride home, shower, getting ready in the day. Like, what is it going to be like when it's my program? Yeah. And you're so competitive that you want to be a head coach. So for some of the younger guys, but it's almost like the Vic Fangio model on the other side of it. It's just, are you just happy doing this? And I bet so many of these guys, once they go through the head coaching ringer, are so thrilled just to focus on the football part of it, their side of the ball, and never have to do anything else. And, you know, it's another thing watching Mac Jones last night and going, I can't believe, like, I think Belichick's UNC stuff and relationship stuff makes so much sense now when I remind myself that he had Matt Patricia call plays. I think that is actually like the line. Like, when did it start going? Not when he decided to like win a showdown with Brady over money with no backup plan, which I've referenced a million times. That he was like, no, we can just do this. And for Mac Jones to go from Matt Patricia to Shanahan, which is quarterback heaven. And again, the other part of it too, like I agree completely on the organizational pride of last night, the way those guys were acting after winning that game. And yeah, it's the fourth down stop and it's overtime and all that stuff. And then going up against McVay, who's very much part of the same conversation. I remember when you had a great tweet. It was years ago, right? And I think the premise was, I'm going to try to get this joke right, but it was like, did you have a Bud Light line at some point with Sean McVay? And it's like, hired. All right.
And then, so I made that joke. I said basically it was a flow chart. It was, have you met Sean McVay? And then have you had a Bud Light line with Sean McVay? And if you have, you're hired as head coach. So I make that joke. And then like 2 days later, this part is not a joke. The Arizona Cardinals hire Cliff Kingsbury. And on the Arizona Cardinals website, in the press release, it says, is friends with Rams coach Sean McVay. It literally said that. And then they had to edit it out afterwards because of they did the meme. They did the meme.
Well, I went through it again this morning. And this is something because there was a lot of hysteria about it. And some of the criticism, I think, is a bigger picture thing that has nothing to do with each and every individual hire, but it gets to how many white guys are getting opportunities to be head coaches in the NFL, which is a longstanding issue and something that's debated all the time. But when it comes to an owner who's like, where do I get one of these guys on this family tree? And I think years removed from that observation and all the discussion around it, it was the right move for almost all of these teams. Like, if you want to get in my case and say, hey, Kingston, you've already made the face, but we can do it.
No, I'm thinking, there's
I mean, if you go through it, like, what do I need to do? 90% hit rate to be right? Because I'm not going to be able to do that, but go ahead.
I was going to say, all right, so McVay obviously is a hit. Kingsbury not. Zach Taylor, I think, will probably not end up being a hit. Do you consider him a hit because he made a Super Bowl?
Yes. Are you fucking kidding me?
I agree. Yes, but how many guys with Joe Burrow? I'm just asking, how many guys with Joe Burrow would have started winning? It's
I
the
guess
opposite.
Understanding how simple we can be about just the result part of it, but yeah, he's not as good when Joe
Burrow's out. Right, but he wasn't as good when Joe Burrow wasn't there before that. So they got the first overall pick for a reason. So it's a hit, yes, but I don't think he's the long-term answer there.
Okay.
And then, by the way, I think we're going to debate McDaniel. McDaniel made Tua exactly what we're talking about a million times. He got Tua from what we're talking about, a bridge $14 million quarterback, so he's playing like before McDaniel got there, to a $55-60 million contract. So he did the job he was hired for, which is make the quarterback better. The team wasn't strong enough. They got bad luck on injuries, and then, quarterback injuries, and then front seven injuries. The timing never worked out. It's probably not going to work out there, but he did what he was hired for. So To me,
By
it's a
the way,
partial hit.
McDaniel did the job.
Yes.
Like, no one's going to want to agree with us on that thing when he gets fired. He did the job.
He was hired to maximize the quarterback position, and then he maximized the quarterback position. It didn't work out long term.
Yeah,
now it's all gonna, like, they've missed on some draft picks. The offensive line never got very good. Tyreek Hill's out. Like, they got really unlucky 2 years ago when they were the hottest team in football for 3 months out of the season. Then everybody who could rush the passer got injured. McDaniel, to me, he'll probably get fired. He'll go be an OC somewhere, and I think he's going to genuinely be a great head coach a second time around with a stronger GM, different environment. I think he can be a great head coach.
So, on the play calling front of all of this stuff, is it then possible to be able to pull this off? Like, is McDermott an example that you don't need these quarterback mittens, on every single decision because of what's happened with Josh Allen? It feels like Harbaugh and Lamar's a little bit different because, like, Harbaugh's just been there so long, and they really do prioritize, like, who they bring in as the OC, and they're even willing to, though something's working, making the switch to Monken and realizing, like, we've got to be a little bit different. There's another level that we need to go to here. I'm just wondering, does it work anymore? Like, would an owner, even if you had a top pick, go, I know this doesn't make any sense, but I want a defensive-minded head coach, and then we'll figure out the development side? Because I don't know that anybody's going to do that anymore.
It's really hard to figure out. First of all, owners are really weird, and owners just base their decisions off of, like, what happened last month, right? So they don't exactly take like a 10-year view, and typically owners just hire the opposite of whoever they just fired. So that's part of it. And so, like, I promise you, when Miami fires Mike McDaniel, they're going to hire a leader of men, defensive coach, and
baseball manager.
Baseball manager. They're going to hire who's a good baseball manager? The guy who just retired in Atlanta. They're going to hire that guy, Brian Snicker. Is that his name?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I saw they gave him a truck. That's the kind of guy. That's the kind of guy that the Dolphins are going to hire. A guy who, as a going away present, gets a truck. And so I think there's a model there. I mean, what you want is Vic Fangio. And what's funny is, a couple of years ago, there was a player. I don't think he wants me to share this, but this player came and visited Bill and I. And so, as far as keeping it anonymous,
Anthony Brown, right?
Anthony. No, the player probably wants to remain anonymous, but he came and visited the Ringer, and we're talking, and he had played for Fangio at one point. And Fangio was getting head coaching buzz at this point. It was before he was head coach in Denver. And we said, hey, where would he be a fit? And the guy was like, dude, I think that if Fangio is eventually going to be a reluctant head coach, like, I think he just wants to coach his guys, and he wants to scheme it up, and he just wants to like be a captain of a pirate ship, right? Like, he wants to just feel that way. And then you become a head coach, and all of a sudden you're worried about special teams. You're worried about all of these things. You're worried about the quarterback's mindset. And I think there's guys who are wired like that. So you got to find the offensive Vic Fangio. The problem is, as you said, that's really few and far between. And you have to get fired like Chip Kelly in a lot of cases. And I also think that it's really hard to have such an ego that you want to be an NFL coach and then not want to be a head coach, right? Like, if you don't have an ego, if you're truly like a humble servant, you're probably coaching at Buford High School in Georgia. You're probably just like, I'm good. I'm making $92,000. I got my family, God family football. I'm good. I don't need anything else. I got my truck, just like Brian Snicker, and we're good. And so I think it'd be really hard to say, let's do the college thing, which is like the super staff. It'd be really hard unless you Godfather offer it, which I don't know. I don't know which owners can be the first one to do that, but somebody should.
I don't know when. Well, we'll see. But, when I was going through all the play callers today, and then I was trying to figure out, okay, which teams are defensive minded from the top down, don't prioritize like play calling, and yet still have great quarterback production. And look, there's still a few of them. And I'm glad you brought up Steichen, which is back to the offensive side of things. Because when I talked to Ted Nguyen from The Athletic, when he went through and was asking defensive coaches like who the best play callers were, Like Steichen was getting love in that piece. He wasn't ranked in the top 5, but I just loved that it was a non-results answer. Because the easiest thing in the world is to go, are you kidding me? I'm supposed to put in Shane Steichen after what just happened at the quarterback position? It's like, well, they're trying to figure out if they have a guy that they spent this really high pick on in Anthony Richardson, and that probably has way more to do with it. And yet the people that were willing to make that like, hey, I know this sounds crazy, but we think Steichen's actually really good going up against him over the years, certainly not in 24. And then to have the Daniel Jones part of it, because the other lesson that we're learning here is I went through and did like the 20 years of first round quarterbacks that were traded. Yeah. And it was like a non-Matthew Stafford trade. Clearly the receiving team wanted him and it worked. But all these other first round guys that basically it's like, yeah, we're done with you. And then they go to the next place. It was like, forever of teams winning a playoff game with the new first rounder. And now it's happening. It's been Baker, maybe not in the playoff win being the standard for everybody, but what we've seen with Darnold, what we've seen with Daniel Jones. And again, it was another piece of the Mac Jones story from last night.
Kevin O'Connell is obsessed with the quarterback journey. And we talked about a little bit on my show at the owners meeting in March. And he basically says his theory is that franchises fail quarterbacks rather than quarterbacks fail. Like there's always a couple of traits you can accentuate. And I kind of feel like the league is hopefully starting to learn that a little bit because we give up on guys too early. Like Anthony Richardson, 2 things can be true at once. Anthony Richardson was failed by the Colts, but they were correct to move on from him. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Like they drafted him, and his fatal flaw was he simply hadn't played enough football. He gets hurt his rookie year. He does a stupid thing his second year, which is taps out of a game. Shouldn't have done that. That's a really easy way to lose a locker room. But then you're saying in year 3, well, he hasn't proven himself. Well, the issue is you needed to give him a long runway. If you were going to draft him and give him that short leash, you're gonna end up with a bust on your hands. And so I want to see Anthony Richardson in a different environment where they let him take a ton of practice. I don't know where that would be. Throw him in Pittsburgh or something like that and just see what happens. This is next year now. But the quarterback journey to me is really fascinating because you have all these play callers now who pride themselves on being able to do this with anybody. And that's the one thing. If you get 6 Bud Light Limes in these guys and say, hey, how many guys
do you have a deal with Bud Light Lime?
I do not. Okay. Do they even make it anymore? Not to be dismissive.
We'll get IT on that. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
I've never had a Bud Light Lime in my life. It was just it was a McVay joke from 6 years ago. I don't even know why I picked that. I don't think he likes Bud Light Lime.
I laughed.
I don't know. It went viral, so it worked. All right. Nice. So yeah, that's how it goes. All right. So I think that there's so many of these play callers who think they can do this with anybody. Like a lot of these guys think they can do it with their backup. That's why it's funny to me that the default is signing these guys for $60 million because no coach has ever been like, actually, let this guy go because I can spam play action with the backup for $9 million and it's going to be totally fine. I've never seen that before.
This episode is brought to you by Hulu. Glenn Powell is Chad Powers, now streaming on Hulu and Hulu Disney Plus. 8 years after flushing his college football career down the toilet, hotshot quarterback Russ Holiday makes a comeback disguised as Chad Powers, an oddball athletic talent who walks onto the struggling South Georgia Catfish, determined to once again take college football by storm. Watch the hilarious new Hulu series, Chad Powers, now streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply. Let's talk about this week. Philadelphia. Yeah. There was a headline on ESPN.com that I saw this morning. It was like, is Philly the worst 4-0 team of all time?
Unbelievable.
Well, look, I clicked. Worked on me.
You clicked?
Yeah. And they're not.
What was the answer? Okay, they're not.
They're not. Was that Carolina team from a bunch of years ago. Just more bad news for Carolina. Even when you're good, we're going back and relitigating whether or not you were good or not. So it's the 7th worst 4-0 team of all time. Some of the traditional passing stuff, not great. 31st in yards. The EPA per pass stuff, a little bit better, but that's only because it's not 31st. It's saying that bottom third quadrant, which doesn't make any sense. That sentence, bottom third quadrant, But I just wanted to let the people know that we're going to be on that and be like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm aware as I said it. So they're going up against this Denver team that there's so many things about this team that I really like, and it doesn't start with their quarterback. So their pass rush is incredible. They've got two of the best tackles in football. They win against the pass rush. So, look, Philly deserves the benefit of the doubt, but it's crazy. They're 4-0, and I don't blame any of us for talking about them the way we're talking about them. I did it with Shield on Monday. I'm like, they're 4-0, but this is weird. But I still think being able to come back against the Rams and then putting up that kind of score on Tampa before Tampa gets into a one-score game later is probably more indicative of who this team is, obviously, because I'm deferring to the talent on the roster.
Yeah, the talent on the roster is all that matters. It's almost like college where nothing matters except one roster versus the other, and the talent differentiation just reveals itself. And I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, Jordan Davis has improved. Jalen Carter's a dog. Jalix Hunt, who's leading the team in pressures, so Hunt told me this story. So he was raw coming out of college, raw. And he had some great numbers at the combine, and they taught him how to play football. And so Hunt told me the story that in training camp, he tried like a chop move on Lane Johnson, and Lane just threw him. And then he literally during the play apologized to Lane Johnson for like trying to beat him. Like it was such a thorough drubbing that he was like, that's on me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, sir. And then I asked him, like, have you beaten Lane since? And he was like, yeah, like week 12 or week 13, we were doing some stuff and I was able to get past him. And that, to me, that's literally development, right? That's how you develop players. And in a league where I think that development gets mailed in a lot, I don't think the Eagles take it for granted. And I think that they're so good at harnessing athleticism. They have such a rigid system on when to take their chances with flyers and traits and say, hey, if this guy develops, that's great. If he doesn't, it's just such a low investment that we're okay with it. Like I just think that they're operating on all cylinders right now. And if you're around it, you feel it. Like when you go to Philly, everything is thought out. Everything, it's a mixture of analytics and gut and all that stuff, and also just like guys who want to win. Like that's the biggest thing. Like I remember, Walt. I don't know. This is I can't believe I'm about to tell the story. I was reading one time that Walt Weiss met Greg Popovich, and as one does, and was like, "Give me some advice." And Pop was like, probably blowing him off, and was like, "Just get guys who want to win, and everything else just takes care of itself." And I think about that a lot, where it's like, I don't know, Jalen Hurts. It seems like, and I don't want to do the Jalen Hurts where he ranks stuff, because that has just gotten so. Like I had Sheil, just like you, I had Sheil on my show last month, and he like refuses to do it. Like, because if you rank him 6th, you get killed. If you rank him 12th, you get killed. Like he's just in a different universe. But I think that there's not a lot of grace extended to Jalen Hurts for winning. And I think that there's a bunch of guys in this league where when they get 1 yard beyond the sticks on a huge third down, not using the touch push, just a scramble, that we go, oh my God, he's doing just, he's grinding it out. He's not completing passes, but he's doing just enough to win, that they get to be winner guy. And Jalen Hurts has to be something else. And so I think that the fact that what's funny to me is, and this happened a couple of years ago, didn't Jason Kelsey say when they were 9-1 that they were like the most miserable team on earth? It's funny to me that the Eagles are such winners that we keep qualifying their successes and saying, oh, are they the most miserable team ever? Are they the worst 4-0 team ever? When are they going to complete a pass in the second half? These are problems that 25 franchises would kill to have. And it goes back to something that Jimmy Johnson said to Bill Belichick in Seth Wickersham's book, which is that if you just do what you're supposed to do, 24 out of the 30 teams, this was in the early 90s, will just get out of your way. And what the Eagles do a great job of is never being one of the teams that get out of your way. They're always the 6 who are waiting for you to make the mistake. And that it's a little bit patriotish to me, where during the Belichick years, like they're so competent, they would expose your incompetence. And there's a skill in that.
That's really well said. By the way, your whole point on this guy's a gamer. That's why I was not raving about Jackson Dart the Monday after. I know it was his first start, but I was like, I'm not falling for this stuff. I try to tell people, I was like, don't play the result where it's like, he's doing a little of this, he's doing a little of that. You're just like, yeah, I don't know. 3 short fields. Okay. It was his first start, though. That's why we're giving him a pass here.
Good for him.
All right. Houston and the Ravens. Ravens on this one historically. The Ravens injury report is so bad that I was looking at it this morning. I saw Hamilton was even on it now. I was like, but he finished the KC game on top of all the other guys that didn't finish. Houston's new offensive line looks a lot like the previous offensive line. But I don't care about the defensive numbers. At this point, all I care about is the health part of it. There's not one Baltimore statistic a month in that's interesting to me because I don't think that's who they are, and I think their schedule is just that brutal. So I'd expect them to put on some kind of like statement game here 5 games in to remind everybody, but I don't know what to do with them with the health.
First of all, I think these are the 2 worst tackling teams in football, which should not be happening. So take the over. I think that the Ravens, you say that you don't think this is who the Ravens are. What's interesting to me is last year they were not perfect on defense. They made an adjustment to how Hamilton is deployed to the deep safety role, and then they became the best defense in football for the rest of the year. The big question for them on their defense is there a move to make? Is there a move? We're not doing this enough. I thought Malachi Starks being drafted, I thought he was a winner. I thought that he was an awesome athlete, and I thought he was going to free up Kyle Hamilton to be one of the best players in football. And that might be true, but so many other things have devolved that you can't notice or he can't impact the game. They're not stopping the run. Roquan Smith has regressed quite a bit, and they can't tackle. And when you do and you can't, most importantly, you can't rush the passer. If you can't rush the passer, you're screwed. Like and Madubuike's got the neck injury that sounds extremely serious. He's out for the year. They're just not getting to the quarterback. And so everything else is flowing from there. That the Jair Alexander signing hasn't gone well. I picked this team to win the Super Bowl, and I've been really disappointed. And I guess when you say you don't think this is who they are, I don't know what's going to change because they're getting more injured, and their flaws seem to be personnel. Which scares me more than let's just make Kyle Hamilton a deeper safety. So Texans, I got a lot of concerns about them too. The offensive line, as you said, their fatal flaw was that they thought that different names meant better names. And I thought the protection schemes last year were bad. I thought CJ Stroud having more ownership at the line of scrimmage was going to be a good thing. I just haven't seen that much of a different team. And we always underrate offensive lines because I did a show right before the season, and I had this little panic. Like, all right, they could be Texans could be a top 5 defense. The Texans could have top 5, quarterback skill guys if everything goes right. The fatal flaw is they need, or the only thing they need to do is have mediocre offensive line play. Well, they're not going to get it. They haven't gotten that, and so I don't know. I'm like Laken Tomlinson. Like Laken, that's your move. I think he's like to bottom 5 in pressure rate allowed. Like I just don't know. And by the way, CJ Stroud, I don't know if he's holding on the ball too long or whatever. He takes violent hits. That's what worries. If I'm Nick Caserio, that's what worries me the most. Is like he's taking these hits that are just brutal, and something's got to change, or else you're getting into this territory of you're gonna look back and say, oh my God, we ruined this guy.
The only thing I can hang on to is like holding out hope for Baltimore. And, sure, Lamar's ability is, probably starts there, right? But the second observation would be much like last year with the turnaround, I felt like had as much to do with schedule as scheme. The fact they've already played Kansas City, they've already played Detroit. They have the disastrous opening night against Buffalo. But yeah, right. Until I start feeling better about the depth chart, especially on the defensive side of the football, I still would be shocked. And by the way, great number on the totals here. Every Houston game that they've been in this year has gone under. Every Baltimore game they've been in has gone over. 2 more games that I want to touch on, and then we'll let you get to what you really care about. McDonald with Seattle, the head coach, said that their in-house analytics, and I'm paraphrasing here, said Baker's like the best quarterback in the NFL on extended plays. And I don't think that's a surprise, maybe to anybody that's watched maybe being the best is a little surprising, but he's just good at keeping things alive, and he's just such a gamer, and all the stuff. I think Lamar would probably be the first guy that you would think of, but I don't know what the stats are for 25, so maybe that's misleading. Josh Allen probably in that conversation as well. But has Tampa done enough the first few weeks in, because they've been down in every one of these games, and there's not a point differential argument for them. But it just always felt like with the Bucs is that they were an afterthought to the class of the NFC. Have they done anything that changes your mind on their ceiling?
Well, Tristan Wirfs, who's probably the best player, has been out, and they've been really scrambling along the offensive line. And so the fact that they were able to steal wins, a little bit like the Eagles thing, the fact that they were able to, Ruiz was on my show this week and we were arguing, and I was like, is it a good or a bad thing that they were the first team in history to win 3 games in a row to start the season on the last play of the game? I think that's a good thing, especially in the NFC South, when it's not going to, I'm not exactly seeing an 85 Bears anywhere in that division. Right. And so I think that the Bucs, Jason Light's one of the best GMs in football. They've got talent everywhere. Everything. What I love about the Bucs, and one of the reasons that I pick them to make the playoffs every year, is like there's the old Billy Bean line: if you have to do something, you're screwed. The Bucs never, and this is again very Howie Roseman-ish, they never draft for need, like ever. Like Ibuka, no one was like, oh my God, the Bucs have to worry about the receiver room. Nobody said that, but they said, we're going to draft best player available. Exact same thing for the Eagles. And what happens a lot of times is
not a N'Keal Harry selection.
Not a N'Keal Harry selection. That's correct. I really do believe that if you look at Belichick's draft, especially in the last 4 or 5 years he was there, it was just to plug holes. He was using the draft to plug holes, which Howie and which he wasn't doing at the beginning. And Howie and Jason Light have decided that their talent base is so high and they have so many veterans on significant contracts who are doing their job effectively that they can draft for best player available. And it's not pretty. And a lot of times everybody says they want to draft on best player available, but nobody wants to actually do it because it's ugly, right? Like there's the Paul DePodesta line about how ownership, the best owners, the way he describes ownership is, your kid wants to go on a roller coaster and then it starts to get scary and they scream, I want to get off. Right. And the best owners never scream, I want to get off. They want to ride the roller coaster the entire time. And I think that that's important because sometimes when your drafting strategy is best player available, it doesn't look pretty in the moment because you're saying, oh, what are we going to do at linebacker? What are we going to do about wide receiver? Like it doesn't, that's not how a good GM works. And Jason Light and Howie Roseman both run their organization like they're going to run it for 100 years. And that's how you compete for Super Bowls.
Yeah, I said it before, like the process is the best example. Everybody comes in, ownership's on the same page. Hinkey's going to just tank in a way that we've just unapologetic about it, never explain it. And then everybody's going to go, he's got 6 G League guys playing right now, And so whether it's the stuff we were talking about in the beginning with, all right, we're going to make sure this quarterback gets all sorts of runway. And it's like, yep, we're 2-8 in year 2.
Yeah.
And the backup's got a Super Bowl and he's 35 years old and has a podcast. He does pretty good numbers. It's more of like a local show. But there's just everyone who wants to map out these beautiful plans. They're so easy to live with when you're just looking at the plan and then not living it all the time. You got anything on Washington and the Chargers? Because I'm worried about Herbert. The pressure rate numbers that I were looking at, he's back at 27% pressure rate on dropbacks. 28% was his career high. That was his rookie year. Some of that stuff can be on you. Alt is out. Becton looks like he could be out too.
Rashawn Slater's been out all year.
Yeah, right. So I didn't even count him anymore. And this Giants front, which I think I weekly remind everybody how much I like, although it's a really weird front to like because the pressure stuff that they were getting against the Chargers was incredible. And yet they're so bad against the run, the yard for carry stuff. So I was like, all right, maybe dial back. Like maybe you should just say, I really like their pass rush part of the front here. Washington's it's not like that group you're like, oh my God, I'm really scared. But considering what's happening on this O-line and what Harbaugh wants to do, a team that everybody was excited about, that opening night Chiefs win, the Denver game, there's a lot of stuff where it felt like maybe the public was coming around on Herbert a little bit more because it's just back and forth with this guy, the way he's talked about. These are alarming trends here.
It's really hard to be a great team. And I thought the Chargers could have been a great team. It's really hard with a bad offensive line and with backup offensive linemen. At some point, you just run out of them and you run out of bodies, and Justin Herbert gets the crap knocked out of him. I will say, now that I'm a Cam Ward truther, I know how the Herbert truthers feel. Like now that I'm like, if you put Cam Ward on 20 teams, he's gonna run away with rookie of the year. Now that I'm that guy, I feel so much more context and empathy with the Herbert situation. No, it's unfortunate, and like I think Jim Harbaugh is an amazing coach. I think Justin Herbert's an amazing quarterback. It's probably just not going to happen this year because of the pressure rate. It's just too high, and I don't know where you're going to get these bodies from. By the way, there's not enough bodies for offensive lines in August, and then now
to lose
you're not going to find one off the street. Yes,
3 at this level, like Alt is just, hey, we're good for a decade now. That's how good he is.
Yes.
Now, who knows? I mean, with him, I think the injury report was doubtful with the ankle, so it's not.
And the Commanders, I was a little worried about their defense last week. We'll see once Jaden Daniels gets back. It's been fine. I'm not ready to hit the panic button. You lose Jaden Daniels for 2 weeks. He's the guy that props open the championship window and all that stuff. So I was disappointed last week with the Falcons, but I think they'll be fine. They'll probably win this game.
Last thing, I know you love your Canes. Give me kind of like going into October, 24 Kev versus 25 Kev.
Well, 24 Kev had seen the Virginia Tech game when the holes in Miami's defense had been exposed. And so I knew that it was going to be a wild ride. And I thought they were going to lose one of the stupid games on the road. I thought they were always going to lose a game like Syracuse, but I thought it was actually going to be Louisville, where you're just trading touchdowns and then time expires. I think that if you follow recruiting patterns, and I do quite a bit, like this is all right on time. College football is a very efficient sport, Ryan, where if a bunch of guys are after somebody, like if Kirby and Kalen DeBoer and Brian Kelly are all after the same guy, they're usually one of the best players in the world. And Miami's in on those guys now, and Miami's getting some of those guys now. And that wasn't the case under Manny Diaz and Mark Richt and Al Golden. Just wasn't that level. It hasn't been that level. I mean, Coker was getting 5 stars, but it wasn't even like it was the wrong 5 stars. It's since Butch Davis, they haven't had this level of talent acquisition. Now, I think it's a weird college football now is a year-to-year sport with the portal, and I don't think the national media is necessarily reckoned with it. But I'm feeling decent. And I think that the fact that there are no dominant quarterbacks this year is going to help Miami because they're going to be ground and pound and bunch sets and running mesh a bunch and probably winning every game by scoring 27 to 28 points. But I don't think they're going to play Texas, which has probably the best roster in the sport, or Ohio State or Alabama. I don't think they're going to put up 45 points in the playoffs. I don't. So I think that Miami has as good a chance as anybody to win the national championship.
You're picking them, I assume, this weekend?
I am. It's funny. So when I was a kid, I was watching a college basketball game, and one of the color guys, it was like, Kentucky struggling with somebody on the road. And one of the guys said, John Wooden always said there's no such thing as an upset when it's a conference game on the road. And I've thought about that for 30 years, but now I can't find any evidence of John Wooden having said it. So now it's just mine. Now it's what I say. So Wooden's out of the picture. So
I did that with Bill Walton because I remember I was very, very early days, ESPN. It was some weekend shift. And I asked Bill Walton if he thought any NBA players listened to the Dead before the game or something like that. And I was trying to be like, how do I get the Bill Walton quote out of him? I was just trying, right? I was trying.
Yes.
I was like 30. And he was like, it's not what inspires us. It's that we have the ability to be inspired. And I was like, oh. And so I was like, man, that's a really good quote from Bill Walton. By the way, the interview went so off the rails, and with our time restrictions for radio back in the day, especially then with like a clock that would cut you off at a certain point, I was like, 2 questions, by the way, I think went 14 minutes. Segments were 9 minutes. And the guy behind the glass was like, we can't run that.
Russillo did a Bill Walton thing where he spoke for 34 minutes when all Brian asked was, how did you meet David Halberstam? And he just spoke for 34 minutes. That would not have worked on radio. That would not have worked on ESPN radio.
That may have been the birth of podcasting. It's just like the people in tech were like, we've got to figure out a way to get these Bill Walton interviews up. Like there's nothing that we can do. Radio cannot contain this man. So maybe that's how podcasts were even invented. But yeah, I was kind of like, oh, all right, cool. Because Bill was really nice. He would walk around ESPN and I'd say, hey, do you ever get any shots up anymore? He's like, I just enjoy riding my bicycle. And he'd have a huge smile and he meant it. He wasn't bullshitting. You know, there might be some other famous guys that would walk through ESPN and be like, put on a smile, play the game, whatever. Bill was genuinely so sincere and so nice to every single person.
Hey, not to change subject, but how are you viewing Miami? I just want to know your thoughts.
I thought that game against Florida was a war. Yeah. And
Florida's defense is good.
Yeah. That's why, I'm kind of like holding out hope for, like, there's the watching part of me can get in the way sometimes, where sometimes if I watch too many, well, I don't want to frame it that way. There can be times where a game that's lost, in the general consciousness of all the viewing on Saturday, I think everybody was watching that Florida-Miami game. So that wasn't like some like, oh man, you caught UTEP's, you know about UTEP secondary, because it doesn't really do anything for me. So I'm not going to watch UTEP secondary. But that Florida performance, like, wonders if this is going to be a sneaky spot for Texas, or it is Texas.
I agree.
Right.
I actually picked earlier this week on ESPN Bet the line was 6.5, and I actually picked Florida. Oh my God.
I thought Miami was violent in that game, and so even though they weren't scoring, and there was technically the spot where Beck throws the pick, and you're like, is Florida actually going to find a way to steal this one? Which would have felt completely wrong, because like, the way I watch football games is like everybody else, but then I'll have some moments that really are about doing the show. So I'll think to myself, like, who should have won this game? Like, who is in control more often? Not that I think game control should be something that the playoff committee necessarily, banks decisions on there. But Florida was clearly the better football team, despite the score being so strange. But what's that?
You said Florida was a better football team. Yeah.
Well, no, that's
Miami's
better.
Football.
I'm kidding. No, you're right. Miami was clearly the better football team. I misspoke. But the violence, the pressure, the edge guys, and like NFL edge guys that, for Miami for years, even when they stunk, they're like, all right, well, that guy's a first rounder.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the gap, is it Russillo? Like, I'm just trying to think of like how many Miami badasses have.
Jalen Phillips.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Greg Rousseau. Yeah. There haven't been a lot. They didn't recruit. They didn't take football seriously because for 25 years, it was really easy to not spend any money and have no resources and win national championships. Then college football changes, Russillo, and they go, it was still easy for us. And all of a sudden, you've got Al Golden. And then Urban Meyer's coming in and taking whoever he wants from Broward County. And Jimbo Fisher's coming into Miami Central High School. And Nick Saban is living an American heritage in St. Thomas Aquinas. And we're going, what if we fought this with Manny Diaz? Didn't work.
You follow the recruiting. You're on it.
It's easy. It's easy to it's easy to predict the sport when you follow the talent acquisition patterns.
This is football host Kevin Clark from ESPN, and we do have him on the show. And I know I got a little aggressive on the Zach Taylor conversation, so I apologize for that.
Well, I actually think it is a funny line for him to be like, oh, it's a hit because he made the Super Bowl. It sounds
that's where I knew, because I knew you were going to do it too.
Yeah.
So I was like ready, and I didn't. I felt like I came after you, but I was more about the concept and not personal. If that makes sense.
It reminds me of when I had been baiting them all. I used to do a Sunday show with Solak and Ruiz, and I was baiting them. They hated the Titans team that got the 1 seed a few years ago, the Vrabel Titans team. And I was just backing them into a corner all season for them to say wins are not a team stat. And they finally did it. The wins are not a predictive stat. Like they basically decided wins don't matter anymore because they hated the Titans team so much. So you basically did that with me. The Super Bowl, I had to throw it out to say Zach Taylor is not that good.
I also did not like that Titans team, and I did a segment calling them the worst one seed, and I went through all of it and the whole thing. And then Titans, you want to talk about local news coming after a guy. I had people in weather tweeting at me that were upset in Tennessee, and then I forget what happened. I think they went on a pretty deep run that year, didn't they?
They lost to the Cincinnati Bengals in the first game, if I'm not mistaken. Oops. Take that. How's the weather in Nashville now, boys?
Yeah. Something gloomy coming this way. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, buddy.
Before we get to life advice, let's check out sportsbook.fanduel.com. The Alliance marches on even without Cerruti. I did not answer a text last night about this, but we were able to figure it out. We're just going to do it with 3 picks. No Cerruti, who is not with us. He didn't die. He's just off today. All right. So
having a time.
Yeah. I've got a couple picks here. If you want to do one, you could do 2 picks. I don't care, Kyle. Also, if you want to check out some future spreads, because I was messing around with it this morning, Ohio State's minus 6.5 against Michigan. So you can bet that game. That takes place November 29th right now. You can also bet Michigan at SC, which is going to take place in a couple of weeks. But right now, we're worried about trying to get back to 3-0 and be a winner back-to-back weeks for the Alliance fans out there, which we know there's a ton. We some crop top ponchos with sort of like a Latin American theme that we are back ordered. So I don't know if we're going to get them in time, but you know what I'm talking about?
Those are 2 words I haven't really heard together ever. Crop top ponchos, but maybe I'll fire up Google search after this.
Yeah, I'll send you a link.
Okay.
All right, what do you got?
All right, on the fly here. I was getting a haircut yesterday. Not that anyone said anything. And there was a guy who thank you. He played 1 year at Minnesota. This is Ohio State. I don't know. I thought that was a sign. It doesn't feel like a sign anymore. Shout out to Kevin Clark. I'm going to take Miami. Not minus 4.5. I'm just going to take the money line. That's minus 180. I think they will beat Florida State.
Minus 180. Okay. All right. That's cool. All right. Let's stay on the Florida talk. Fleek and I talked about it. Clark and I talked about it. I mean, and now it's only plus 4.5 at home against Texas, but we'll plug that one in. So can you plug this all in on the fly here?
I think I can, yeah.
All right. And then the other one, we'll go with Felika's pick. Purdue,
That's right. He gave us Purdue.
Yeah. He really likes Purdue at home against number 23, Illinois, plus 9.5. Purdue sneaky scoring some points out there, Boilermaker country. So what is the payout for those 3 legs?
You'll get plus 477 if you put that in right now.
That's exactly what we're hoping to do.
That's the range.
You could check it out. Yeah, you can check it out in those future bets as well, and all sorts of stuff from their buffet of entertainment. Sports Bay. Sports Bay?
Roll with it, man.
Check it all out at sportsbook.fanduel.com.
You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Today's life advice is brought to you by Amazon Business. And when it comes to bringing your visions to life, trying Amazon Business is an easy service to recommend. With smart business buying, Amazon Business lets you get everything you need to grow in one familiar place, from office supplies to IT essentials and maintenance tools. Now, let's get to it. Life advice, email address, lifeadvicerr@gmail.com. We only Cerruti free zone here today.
Back like it's dual threat.
It is. Not like dual threat. We used to end that with Chris Fowler trivia.
Yeah. Didn't really get that part. But
you never understood that?
No, I mean I didn't get it back then, but I've learned a lot more about you and that whole space. So
do you want to give me
some
first impressions? Do you want to share now?
First impressions of you?
Yeah.
I don't think this guy likes me, but then I'm not sure he likes a lot of guys. So I'm like, maybe don't take it personal. On time, I liked On Time. I was like, this is great, because I was doing you and Bill was sort of like, you're like a minute man. You're just sort of ready to go, and you were like, we were pretty regimented, which was cool. Because
like almost militaristic.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like not sure if I should be joking with him or not. And like, oh, he's a guy who appreciates a joke. So that was just a lot of feeling out going on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
All right, let's get to some emails. What do we got here? Let's see. Well, there's a Cerruti compliment here, so
it's only right we give it to him when he's not here, because it seems like everything he gets is the opposite.
Yeah, so we'll save it. We'll save it for when he's here.
Yeah, okay.
I just don't understand how anybody gets on his case. You know what's amazing about Cerruti, Kyle? Have you ever seen him mad?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
It's always like this. But sometimes it's like, hey, what's going on in there, right? With you, you're passionate. You're a lover. There's range. So maybe you're better.
He's been disappointed one time. Like, I think I fucked something up, and he was just like on the phone, like a lot of like man, it really sucks that happened, but I don't think it was ever mad. It was once where it was like that, and I was just like, man, what a great guy. He's like there for me. He's there for me, and he's sad for me. Also, I'm in trouble. You know what I mean? So that was, Cerruti's the man.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Dating someone living in a rough area. Oh, wait. Dating someone living in a rough area? Sorry. 29 years old, 5'10", 170, no gym stats. Player comp Mario Chalmers, plays hard, can occasionally hit a big-time three. Doesn't mind getting yelled at by LeBron if it means winning 2 rings. They yelled at that guy a lot. Just got laid off after working for one of the biggest brands in the world for 10 years. While looking for new employment, have some free time, and reconnected with an old coworker online that I went on a few dates with a few years back, but just never went anywhere. She recently moved a little more than an hour away to a rough part of the state because her dad wanted to move closer to his job. While at first I didn't mind taking the drive, after picking her up last week and going to dinner, I realized how tough this was going to be since she doesn't drive. She never got a license nor has a car and just takes the bus everywhere. After dinner, we headed back to her place where we hung out and watched a movie. After we were finished, she asked if I wanted to stay or leave. I ended up leaving because I didn't want to leave my car there overnight on the street. While leaving and walking to my car parked around the corner, I noticed a car parked 2 cars past mine. It looks like it was just broken into because it definitely wasn't there a few hours ago. I felt very lucky it wasn't my car, as I just got it a few months back. Hopped in and dipped. I called her on the way home to tell her what I saw, and she said something along the line of, quote, "Yeah, that'll happen here or there," end quote. So I'm not only faced with the dilemma of driving over an hour every time to see her, I'm now afraid to hang out at her place because of stuff like this. She also mentioned one of the convenience stores up the street was broken into and robbed last week. The only other thing would be to drive there, pick her up, drive her back to my place, and if she stays the night, drive her back in the morning, or take the bus closer to me, but that feels like it'll be a hassle for her.
You can't ask
I
her to
do like
that.
her. Conversation always flows well, but this just might be a deal breaker. I don't hate driving, but driving back and forth like this seems like a lot. What do you guys think?
I hate driving. That would have been a deal breaker. I would have slowly faded out, but I mean, Hollywood, even like, decent parts of Hollywood where pretty much I've been the whole time, like it's not shocking when you see, the shattered glass on the ground, in the Crown Jewel, even Poughkeepsie, not shocking either. So this wouldn't make me like worried about what's going to happen to me. This is a charger to the game thing. If you're going to park your car there overnight, at night is when the shady shit happens. Maybe you could look for a parking garage that's close. In cities where cars get their windows smashed, parking garages are aplenty. So if you don't want to end this over that, I'd try to Google Maps a parking garage, and maybe it's a 5-minute walk. But just the distance would be enough for me to be like, I don't really want to do this every time I want to see somebody. So I guess we're just different people.
The guy was so worried about his car being broken into, he didn't spend the night.
Yeah, this is going to be in the back of your head all the time unless you figure out, a safe spot for your car.
He's like, I'm just not going to be able to perform. That's stuff going on.
I can't focus.
When we do this, I just want to be able to focus on you. Right now, I'm thinking about my deductible.
There's a great new restaurant opened 30 minutes away. I really think we should go.
Yeah, meet in the middle. I got to tell you, if she's willing to get on a bus to meet you, that's either the all-time keeper or she has no options.
Right. The fact that Uber isn't a thought.
Well, it's expensive.
It is
expensive that would get. So all I could tell you is I don't care how much you like her. You're already this upset about existing scenarios. So imagine a couple months in and it's an hour there, an hour back every time that you want to spend time with her. And the pick her up thing and leave is even dumber than that one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, look, if I park my car in Venice overnight, am I going to think about it? Sure. But if I like the girl, then I'm not going to just be like, hey, look, I don't like parking my car there. So, I mean, clearly our emailer here has different reservations. They're triggered perhaps a little bit quicker. I'm not criticizing him necessarily, but some people worry about some stuff that other people don't really worry about it. And sometimes it's age, or sometimes it's asset, or sometimes it's, it's just, I don't know. I feel like when people get older, I don't know what that is. Sometimes I miss the young freedom of not ever thinking about any of those things. Right?
I'm parking in this loading zone. God damn it. There's nothing else that's close enough for me to feel good about where I'm parking this. I'm parking in the loading zone. I want to know what kind of car this guy has. I really wish.
It better be pretty sweet, right?
Well, it's the other way. There's two ways of looking at it, right? It's just like, I really cannot afford anything else to happen to this Nissan Altima. I just fucking can't. I can't do it. Or, fucking love that new Bronco. I got the big one, like I it's either like really nice and he's constantly thinking about it where it's parked even in nicer neighborhoods, like nobody better park too close. Or he's like, I literally cannot have a trash bag window on top of all the other bullshit that's going on with this car. I think it's probably either one of those two ends of the spectrum. I don't think it's in the middle.
My guess is just a little particular about things. So, but if it's a Nissan Altima, then if you're parking in a bad, I think it's kind of a still desirable car, or maybe it was a long time ago. Maybe that was a Nissan Maxima, and they were also easy to break into, I think.
Man, I had a fucking trash bag window when I first moved here. That sucked. It really sucked, man.
I remember reading an article about how it was actually like the manufacturer's fault that the cars were being broken into that much because they were so easy to break into and then hotwire. And I was like, that's a pivot.
Right. What a Jedi mind trick.
Our obsession with finding someone else who's obviously to blame. So, look, it's going to get, you're already annoyed by it and you haven't even started doing it. So, I mean, if she wants to take a bus to you and switch it up every now and then, fine. But I feel like you're in a low spot right now. I'll just be totally frank with it. You got laid off. You may connect with her big time. I'm also wondering, like, does she not have that many options or are you that awesome? Maybe this guy's awesome. I mean, my head's all over the place with all of these things, but my gut reaction is that you're kind of like, of all of our ups and downs through life, going through some of the stuff that you're going through, you're in a bit of a down stretch maybe, and you're trying to figure out like, hey, this could be companionship.
And you're like, yeah. History, though. He might have left something on the table there, and he's like, I got to see what happens here.
That's very true.
That could be like, gnawing at him. So I'd say check for those parking garages, and if it's too far away, then maybe you don't do this. But try one more thing to make you feel good about this.
Yeah.
Get a monthly rate. Won't hurt as much, maybe.
What if she said, I'm totally down if you want to get me a bus pass.
Check for what's Amtrak like over there? Do you guys have one of the big rail lines or what? Okay, we got a pretty straightforward one. Day one listener, don't miss a show. Love everything y'all do. 5'11", 152. At my peak player comp, Kentucky's Reed Shepherd just replaced the dunks with sick left-handed layups. My offhand, now it's just a lot of unguarded free throws and mid-range jumpers, shooting alone at the park. In the back of my mind, I truly believe I was in the right here, but I'm not a confrontational person. So this afternoon run has running. All right, so I thought we were talking hoops, and then I thought he was going for a jog. Let's read that sentence again, Brian. So this afternoon's run-in has me reflecting back on it much more than anyone should. I work in a busy business district in one of the largest cities in the U.S. Today for lunch, I ordered Chipotle via the app and even gave it an extra 10 minutes to ensure it would be ready when I went to pick it up. When I arrived slightly ahead of lunch rush, I order there weekly. My order was not ready on the to-go shelf. Uh-oh. The rush hadn't hit yet. And like any self-aware human being, I stepped back to give room for others checking for their orders. Again, the rush had not hit yet.
So I took a look around, and a few minutes later I saw Rob, name changed-ish, walk in and stand directly in front of me. Things quickly got busier, and it was clear not the A-team working at Chipotle. With the orders, God, Chipotle gets so much reference on this pod. Yeah. With orders only being brought out if someone approached the employee working the station, Rob had somehow worked his way in front of me in line, but was not looking to make a move for his order. Close to the front of the line, someone who had walked straight in and picked up immediately left, and I took the chance to fill the space. When I gave the worker my name, I immediately heard a loud "and Rob" from behind me. He performatively scolded me about cutting the line, waving his arms to get others around us on his side, and even shuffled to make it difficult for me to leave the area. I was somewhat irked with his response and responded with something like, "Sorry, man, just trying to get out of here. I've been waiting longer than you." Was I in the wrong here? Rob seemed content, passively waiting for his turn, but I was 30 minutes past pickup time and was ready to eat and needed to head back to work. Thankfully, Rob had a company-branded backpack on him. Upon returning to the office, I was quickly able to locate his LinkedIn profile. Turns out he's a U.S. representative. Nothing big to report, but thought an interesting conclusion to the story. What the fuck is up with you guys getting into it with Chipotle and then finding people on LinkedIn? Where's that going? So look, you were there early, but it happens, especially in a chaotic thing. I think one time I just straight up was getting cut in line so much at the ESPN cafeteria. I then on Taco Tuesday accosted somebody else for cutting me, and he was like, "Dude, I was in line." And then I was pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he cut me. I'm still pretty sure he cut me.
But you were so rage blind, you're like, I don't know what actually happened.
But the way he delivered it was so good. But there were just like a lot of different things that would happen in the ESPN cafeteria. Deportes doesn't follow the rules. I don't know what it is, but those guys would just come in and fucking free for all. Well, I don't know. Like the salad bar has usually 1 to maybe even 2 entrances, depending on how it would be set up. These guys would like start at fucking carrots in the middle. And then I'd be like, what are you?
Anywhere there's a spot.
Yeah, anywhere there's a spot. Like that doesn't make any sense. And so it just kept happening over and over and over again. And we would talk about it, like there's just some people that come in and cut. Again, it wasn't just Deportes. There were a lot of people that cut. But I never forget that salad bar incident. But then the taco one. So yeah, right. Like it sucks for you in this spot because this guy decided to be all theatrical about it. And by the way, if he's a politician, like add that to the equation of all of these things. He's like, we are, like.
This is what I'm talking about, folks.
This will not stand.
This is the change I'm talking about.
We're just all trying to eat on equal footing. But if you were there first and then you're getting yelled at when he kind of like works his way in the narcissistic way a politician would, by the way, this makes a lot of sense. I just don't understand looking it up after the fact. But again, maybe it's that curiosity. Somebody gave me the finger yesterday in the street. It was crazy.
How does it feel now than as it used to feel like, I feel like the finger used to be like, up with the C word. It's like, you can't do this. That's like what it was drilled into my head. Maybe that's just like the folks I'm around. Now the finger's like, I don't know. It's definitely not that. I don't know. Maybe it's me getting older. Maybe times have changed, but like the finger used to be like last resort, it felt like, but I don't know. Maybe driving is a different context.
It was a busy street, but not a busy street in Manhattan Beach, but it's the one that's busy kind of in and out on Highland. And I took a left at a light where if you don't get up there, like no one was in the left lane, but I jumped probably a couple car lengths up to get into that left lane to turn over.
Got to do it.
Right, which kind of everybody does. Like I try not to be egregious about it when I do it. Like some guys you'll just see get in the other lane and then floor it to get in front of any other oncoming traffic.
Yeah, everything's fine.
I wouldn't do that, but it was like a car length and a half, 2 car lengths where I'm like, all right, the light's green. It's going to move a little. So let me just kind of get into this thing because then if you get stuck in the light, you can get stuck in the light. And it may have had to do with like a couple kids on these dirt bikes that are basically just dirt bikes, but they're e-bikes. And
they go 1 mile an hour under what the max is or something.
No, I mean, I saw these 2 guys on these different motorcycles yesterday. They're supposedly e-bikes, and there's no license plate on them whatsoever. And again, this is starting to sound old, but like it's just way too fast for the walking area in Manhattan. It's just there's too many people walking down every single block to go into the beach and all these different beach entrances. It's not just funneled to one entrance where you have to kind of watch what you're doing. it's constant like cross traffic. And so there's one stretch where you can really let it get wide open where there aren't that many people walking, but there's long stretches here in the South Bay where you can't really just like let it go. And if you're a kid, you don't give a fuck, which I totally understand. So I think it was because I don't know if it had anything to do with the kids and them thinking, oh no, like there's a car coming the other way. But then I'm immediately in that expanded left lane.
Right.
There's nothing that's even close. And I get a guy truck with a rack on it, by the way.
Huh.
Yeah. And he just gives me a big old meaty middle finger. And like I saw it. He was a pretty big guy and it was just meaty. And he like really let me have it with the finger. And I went, what was I going to do? I want to go home. Yeah. He was huge. I think he was huge too.
All right.
So he's older, but that finger, it's still like, I'll never forget it because it was
the silhouette.
Yeah. I don't know what he did. I mean, the thing had like scar tissue and ash. Maybe it's sewn back on. But because he had a framer's rack on the truck, I was like, okay, then. I'm like, I'm going to, because I've envied framer racks. I always wanted one. But I didn't stay in the framing game long enough. There isn't really much to add to this email other than I just told that story. So
I think let me just get this off. I think
if
I think mobile orders and all and these pickup stations and the you order it yourself on the iPad
You're nailing it.
has screwed up all the sort of like common courtesy and where lines are supposed to be in restaurants, especially things that are a little bit small on the smaller end, like Chipotle. Going to like a little boba tea smoothie place where it's like there wasn't even really enough room for one line. Now there's two. Listen, I think it's a little bit more of a free-for-all when we're talking about mobile pickup. You get it. We make it, you find it type of deal. I think in this situation, you have the karma on your side. You could, if you really wanted to, you could have been like, hey, buddy, take a look at this. Like, I've been here. Did you see me when you walked in? That's because I've been here. You could have done that. Glad you didn't. We're adults. And I mean, unless you're going to pay, if there's one spot where someone's taking orders and a guy's ready to order something, you're like, hey, I'm here from DoorDash. Can I, like, you shoving a phone in someone's face? Then you would have been in the wrong. I think this mobile pickup nonsense, it's a little bit Wild West. So you should have many reasons to think that you're in the right here. I think that's it. I think that's all I have. But especially with the mobile order thing, it's, sort of like you can manipulate stats to make your argument right. Sort of like sports. So you're good.
You're right. The pickup, but this is for actually delivery people. This is for civilians. But then if you come over here, something might not be right. You double check. I did it the other day.
Sometimes a business has been getting shit stolen, so they say that you can pick up your stuff from this rack, but you actually have to ask Todd, the guy in there, do you have it? And so if you're going to be sheepishly standing there, you might not get your thing. They're not going to actually put it there and yell out your name because they've got some shady folks in there grabbing people's lunches. So again, no rules. I think you can go to sleep at night knowing that you didn't do anything wrong. So there you go.
It is really frustrating when you're already there first, but you're hanging back, and then somebody kind of gets in front of you thinking that they're first in line. And then for them, that same person start like a movement inside the Chipotle to accost you
right
with his constituency.
Well, you might have to be posturing in there, if you're waiting and you need to be picked on, or you want to,
Moses Malone would never have this happen to him.
Right. Right.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, sometimes you got to talk to people with your eyes when you're, make eye contact with that guy as he's, running around filling pans of beans or whatever the fuck he's doing. You got to make sure you catch his eye. It's like a busy bar and a bartender. You got to catch the employee's eye so he knows you need something. Or maybe a firm but not stern, hey, or whatever. You got to make yourself seen in a place like that.
All right. Good stuff. Thanks, Kyle.
Yep.
Thanks to Kyle. Thanks to Jonathan Frias. Today's life advice was brought to you by Amazon Business. It's time to free up your teams and focus on your future. Learn more about the technology, insights, and support available at amazonbusiness.com. That'll do it for the show today. Check out the show on the Spotify app. Also, our YouTube, Ryen Russillo Podcast, Ringer, Spotify.
They were going to name me Michael Jordan. My dad was like, I don't think he can live up to it, so they named me Michael Jared.
Must be 21 and older and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is there. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.